Welcome back to another episode of Let Love Be Your Guide. My name is your host, Dominique Chantel, and I will be guiding you through this amazing experience. I am so excited to be here with you today and to share with you three keys to become a better you. I'm talking about three keys to become a better you. So, with that being said, I'm not going to hold you long, but I do want you to know that this channel is all about self development and self growth. And the reason why I started this YouTube channel and this podcast was because I didn't have anything to look to when I was coming out of my divorce. And I started asking those questions. Why did I get a divorce? Was it me? Was it my spouse? What do I need to do to become a better me? And it came back just so clear as day. You need to learn to love yourself. And that's why I entitled the podcast, Let Love Be Your Guide, because love has to be the foundation for me and you in order to live an abundant life. So, with everything, we have to do it in love. And so that's why I'm here. I'm sharing my stories and I'm sharing what I have learned and even what I'm continuing to learn. So come on in and join me as I talk about three keys to becoming a better you. So the first thing I want to talk about and say is that you cannot become a better you if you are not self aware. Okay, so if you are not aware of what you're doing wrong and right, then you can't become a better person. That's just hands down. So I want to say that. So sometimes it requires you, not sometimes, but all the time, we should be taking self assessments of ourselves. And a self assessment, it just says where you are, tells you where you are, where you need to be, and where you're headed. Where do you want to be? Okay, that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about being self-aware. Okay, so make sure that you again take a self-awareness, tool, and figure out where you are so that you can go in the direction that you need to be going in for your purpose. Okay, so again, we're talking about three keys to becoming a better you. The first one that I've learned for me and discipline is discipline. So here's the thing, discipline creates habits. So it's not just a matter of saying, I'm going to do this just for the sake of doing it, but when you do something, you do it to create a habit so that you can become a better you. I just like to use the example of working out. And so even when I don't feel like working out, even when I get down or tired, I know that for me, being disciplined enough to keep my workout schedule, it's so important. And so I find other ways if I don't get a workout in. And so it creates a habit that I have to move my body. I have to do something in replace if I don't go and work out. So it may be me doing a stretching exercise. It may be me going to a yoga class. Whatever it is, you have to create, right? Create the space for whatever you have put in place. Again, if it's working out, if it's meditation, if it's traveling, whatever it is, you have to, once you create that space, and become disciplined, it creates a habit. And so that's why it's so important to not get in the habit of doing things that don't benefit you, such as not being on time, such as doing maybe lying, a multitude of things that, like, just telling little white lies, because those things add up. I think that it's so important for us to not just talk the game, but actually walk it, right? So you're walking it out. So I'm not telling you anything that I'm not doing or that I have not come to the realization of. So for me, being disciplined in my life right now, it's going to be important for the rest of my life. But I've created a routine so that I won't go away from what I need to do and creating healthy habits. My working out schedule, my meditation schedule, my spending time with my kids, my spending time with my parents, my spending time with my friends, my studying, if you're going back to school, for me. So make sure that you're becoming disciplined. Whatever it is that you are wanting to do, make sure that you are creating a healthy habit so that you will continually do it. Okay. And just one last thing, I do want to read a quote. It says, discipline um, creates habits. Habits make routines, and routines become who you are daily. The value of discipline is the way to do what needs to be done. So again, it's the way of getting what needs to be done, and you're just doing it. You're creating that habit. Okay. So the next thing that I value, and I know that will make you a better you, is, I think it just goes right in line with this, is consistency. Um, you know, Consistency will keep you going when motivation can't. So when you don't feel motivated to do that thing, I'll just use the example of working out. When you don't feel motivated to, even, I'll use my example of studying, because I have to study, I have to collect what I need to collect to actually bring this information to you. If you don't be consistent, if you're not consistent about a thing, then when you're not motivated to do it, again, consistency will keep you in the game. It'll keep you doing it. And that's one of the things that I am teaching my children right now, to develop, just being consistent. Sometimes you have to do things when you don't feel like doing them. I'll tell you a story. It was about 3 years ago when I was getting my certification together to become a teacher. And I must have taken, let me tell you, I really am not really good with taking tests. However, I battle through it. I get through it, right? So I had testing anxiety and I would get nervous. So every time, I would be so nervous because I have to take, here in Georgia, what's called a GACE. Okay. And so you have to take the test and pass it in order to become a teacher. And when I was taking that test, like time after time, I passed the language arts and I passed the reading portion, but the math just kept getting me. Okay, math is not my strong suit. And so what I did was I kept studying the math portion, I kept studying, and I'm like, Lord, some way, somehow, I know you're going to help me pass this math test. And to be quite honest, I actually did not pass the math test until I had to actually teach math. So I got a long-term sub position where I was teaching math, teaching the very thing that I kept failing on the GACE. How about that? So I think, again, God just worked it out to where he knew that's what I needed and that's where I needed to be in that time, because I kept studying and I kept failing it. And it's so embarrassing, I'll let you know, but I took that test 6 times and I failed every last one of them. But it wasn't until I started teaching math that on the seventh time when I took that test, I passed it. Thank God. Because I was determined. I remained consistent. I wanted, again, to be a teacher. I wanted this. And so I was going to do whatever it took to become a teacher. And so that's my story about just being consistent. So whatever you're doing, whatever it is that you are wanting to develop in yourself, whether you're going back to school, whether you're trying to pass a test, whether you're trying to get a certification, whether you're trying to get a new job, whether you're trying to change careers, whatever it is, be consistent at it. Don't give up. Because had I given up, I wouldn't be sitting here as a teacher before you today. So that's the lesson that I learned. So remain consistent in that. Okay. And that also goes back to, again, discipline. I had to basically, you know, shut out everything because I knew I had to be disciplined in studying. And studying with kids, with two kids, is not hard, is not easy, right? It's really challenging. So I hate to use the word hard because for me, nothing is too hard, for my God. But it's challenging when you have kids and you're trying to do these things on the outside, these extracurricular activities as an adult. It makes it way more challenging. So again, the way that I fought through that was I remained disciplined and I remained consistent with what I had going on. Okay. Um, Listen, I will tell you that for me, being these past couple years, learning how to be disciplined and learning how to be consistent has been the very thing that has kept me going and has kept everything together for me through the good days, when I was feeling well, when I was feeling sick, whether I'm under the weather, whether I'm tired. Discipline has kept me doing the things that I know are going to help me in the long run, because I really do feel like I have a responsibility to, again, teach as many people as I can to, number one, love themselves and how to become a better version of themselves so that they can have an abundant life. Like, that's my mission. That's what God is sending me in the world to do, and that's what I am doing. Because until you realize that loving yourself is just more than, again, going out, getting your nails done, getting your hair done, getting massages. It's more than self-care. Loving yourself, again, like I always say, is being patient with yourself. I take my definition from the Bible. Being kind to yourself, giving yourself grace. And so we can't be in a rush. When we mess up, we have to forgive ourselves and we have to give ourselves grace. We have to be kind to ourselves, getting rid of the negative things that we say to ourselves, and actually go back to God's word. And what does he say about you? God says so many amazing things about us in the Bible. We are the head. And so I can go all day long about what God says about us. But this is why I started this podcast, to show you and to let you know that you are destined for greatness. God wants you to be the best version of yourself that you can be. And you are the only one that can limit yourself. Matter of fact, you have limited yourself, but you can cancel that out and you can start over. And that's why you have to learn to love yourself, because this love thing, it's more than just extending it again to somebody else. We all want to be loved, but we are loved. That's the very thing. God loved us first. And so if it's any evidence how we should be behaving or being to people or treating people, we should be treating people with love. That's just the bottom line. Regardless if you in your feelings, if you out of your feelings, if you don't like them, if you don't respect them, God says love, you know that's an action. And so without love, we wouldn't be here. We would not be here. If you think about it, without the action, we would not be here. So it's so important for you to do that. Sorry, I got off on a tangent, but going back to just, again, learning to love yourself and making sure that you are consistent. When you are consistent in a thing, look, you'll keep going even when it don't feel good, right? You'll keep going even when you don't feel like it. You'll keep going even when your mama say, no, you're not supposed to be doing it. You'll keep going even when you have naysayers around that discourage you. Keep going. Be consistent in that thing, because you know at the end of the day what you're supposed to be doing. Okay. And what it's like, right? You already know. You've experienced the worst. You've experienced the bad. You've experienced the negative talk. So keep going. Be consistent in that thing. Okay. Lastly, I want to say discipline, consistency. Oh goodness. Can't believe that is not it. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this. Right, and focus. Focus is my last one, right? So when you maintain your focus, you are able to do what you were put here to do. I'm talking about sometimes you have to turn off, cut off, get off of social media. Sometimes you have to limit your time on social media. Now, listen, I'm not saying don't be on social media, because, again, that's how we get our news. That's how I get a lot of my news, because I rarely watch the news, but a lot of what's going on in the world. What I'm saying, so I'm not saying don't watch social media or don't be on it, but limit your time, okay? Because what are you trying to do? Are you trying to be an influencer? If you're trying to be an influencer, well, maybe you do need to be spending your time on social media and learning things, learning different tactics. But it takes anybody who's going to hone and craft their skill, it has to take a level of focus, right? If you look at the greats, Oprah Winfrey, Michael Jordan, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, um, Michelle Obama, Barack Obama, I mean, you name it. It takes a level of focus to get to where they are, you know. And my thing is, if we are to reach our full potential, we have to maintain focus. We cannot allow the distractions of life, whether it be a coworker, whether it be a boss, whether it be your own family. Listen, sometimes family is the main culprit. And sometimes if you have to cut somebody off for a season, you know, that's okay. And it doesn't have to be rude. You don't have to be rude, but you can say, so and so, listen, I'm going through a season where I just need I just need to focus. I need to maintain my focus. So I can't talk to you every day. I can't listen to what you have to say or the negativity that you're bringing in. I can't listen to that every day. And if they love you, they will respect you. If they care about you, they will respect that decision. Okay? Because that's a boundary. That's a boundary that you're putting up there. Because you're saying you can't just come in my space and talk any kind of way or talk about this person or talk about that person or put your limiting beliefs on me. That's a boundary. Guys, get this. That's why it is so important for you to learn to love yourself first before you try to love somebody else, because we got to learn boundaries. And I feel like that is something that is missing in relationships. Boundaries. We have to learn boundaries with our kids. We have to learn boundaries with our spouses. We have to learn boundaries with our parents. We have to learn boundaries with our brothers and sisters. We have to learn boundaries with our bosses. We have to learn boundaries with our job. There are boundaries that if you love yourself, you will say, hey, this is what I'm willing to deal with, and this is what I'm not willing to deal with. So, and just to give an example, if you come talking to me sideways, if you come cursing, if you come just being negative, listen, I have no room for you, or I have little to none in my space, because I don't talk to myself like that. I don't speak to myself negatively. I don't say I can't. I don't say I'm not going to do. So we have to learn those boundaries. And if you are allowing people to come into your space and into your home, into your presence and speak like that, oh my gosh, like that's number one, you need to put a boundary in place. And I'm going to talk about boundaries as well. So you got to check back with me. But I want us to be so well. I want us to be thriving. I want us to be on level 10 so that we can live this abundant life that God has called us to. And we can live a purposeful life. We can live what we were put here to do. That's the bottom line. Okay. So, and you cannot do that, again, if you're not being disciplined, if you're not being consistent, if you're not focusing, blocking out all the distractions. And let me say this, sometimes the distractions may be from a person that in one season they were good for you, but in the next season they're not good for you. So, but God gives you wisdom to make those shifts and to make those deciding factors. So what's good for you in one season may not be good for you in another season. And you have to know that, and you have to be cognizant, because if you're not, you can bring somebody else into season 2 and they were supposed to be in season 1. You're supposed to let them in season 1. So we have to be wise. Okay, we have to be wise. So my prayer for you is that you will become, again, more disciplined this week. You will become more consistent this week, and then that you will become focused, because I definitely am. I want to be the best version of myself. I want to be living a quality life to where no matter what comes, listen, I'm still going to be creating spaces for me and my people to thrive, and to know when I'm getting off my rocker, how I can recalibrate and go back to a space and a place where I'm like, okay, Dominique, calm down. It's not about them. It's about you getting your mind together and being who you want to be, who you said, the woman of God who you said you wanted to be. And so we have to learn to show up, the way we want to, and to be the best version of ourselves at the end of the day. Okay. So I want you to do me a favor. If you liked, or if you gained some insight from this podcast, this video, please share it with somebody. Okay. Again, my growth is your growth. And so the more I grow, the more you're going to grow with me. We're in this together and we are committed. Stay locked in. Stay with me, because we are going somewhere. I am building something, just building a community. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast. And may you always let love be your guide in life, today, forever, and always. Love y'all. See you next week. Bye.